So I recently came across an online article by a very popular news publication, and this article had charts made in Tableau, and these charts were depicting the stats about H1B visa and how the Indian IT sector is its biggest beneficiary. And I must say it was a very informative article, but I felt, in my humble opinion, that the charts could have been presented better. So I've tried doing just that. I have tried revamping the charts. So one after the other, I'll show you the original chart, followed by the chart that I have made. So this is the first chart that they had. So here you have the average annual salary in US dollars versus the percentage of H1B workers with master's degree. What I've tried doing with this chart is I have tried giving it a Gartner Magic Quadrant sort of a look. I have flipped the axis first of all, and then I've introduced the average lines. So here in the first quadrant you have companies that are above average both in numbers of workers with master's degree and the annual salary. And in the third quadrant you have companies that are below average in both the regards. Moving on, this is the second chart. This chart requires a lot of effort by the consumer to understand it. The progression of the age group is also not in sequence, and the use of different colors here to denote the different years makes it a little confusing, I would say. So what I've done with this chart is I have converted it into a line chart. Here you have the different age buckets, 25 to 34. That's at the top, and you can see how the progression goes over the years. This is the third chart that was published in the article, and this chart looks good. The line in the area graphs have been synchronized to show the contrast between the number of petitions that have been filed and the petitions that have been approved. So what I've tried doing with this chart is I have converted them into bar charts. You can see that the petitions filed here, it's at the top, and in blue you have the petitions that have been approved. The height of the bar denotes the total number of petitions that have been filed, and I've also introduced the approval percentage here, so you can see how it goes over the years. You can see in 2017 there's a dip in both the petitions that have been filed and the approvals that have been made. Moving on, here you have the employer and the total number of approved petitions. This is a very simple chart. So what I've tried doing with this is I have tried converting the bars into bubbles. So the size of the bubble denotes the magnitude. You can see how it varies, and I've also sorted it in descending order. So here we have Cognizant at the very top, and I also have an average line here, so you can see the contrast between the companies and the overall average. Right, moving on. This chart shows the beneficiary compensation in dollars, and here we have different buckets of compensation. So you can see the blue here, it's 50k to 75k USD, and the size here of the region denotes the quantity or the number of petitions that were filed. So what I've done with this chart is I've converted into squares, and these are the different buckets here, and the size of the square denotes the quantity or the number of petitions associated with it. Moving on, like the employer chart, we have the country chart here. You can see that various countries and the number of petitions filed by the countries. So I've converted it into a bubble chart again. So here you have India, that has over 2 million petitions that were filed in 2017. Compared to the other countries, here you have China at the second spot and South Korea at the third spot. This is the next chart. This is the state-wise distribution of H1B visa applications, and as the shade of the color changes from light to dark, that denotes the change or the increase in the numbers. So what I've done with this is I've changed the color first, because in general practice red denotes something that is negative or denotes loss or something of that sort. So I've changed the color, and I have introduced the names of the states and the numbers associated with them. And also I've used stepped colors because I believe that using stepped colors in the color legends, it makes it easier to correlate and understand the progression. And this is the last chart that we have here. You can see these are the specialty occupations that are entitled to the H1B visa. You can see that it's the dominant domain here is computer related occupations, and I have converted them into bubbles again. And also out here you can see that the labels are not visible completely, so it's always advisable to reduce the font size or to flip the axis if this happens. So what I've done here is I've converted them into bubbles, and you can see this is very similar to the employer and the country chart that we have discussed earlier. Right, so these were the 8 charts and the revamped version. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, then please give it a thumbs up, and feel free to drop a comment if you have any feedback or suggestion.